Now, if you're surprised that CNN is spreading propaganda, or you're questioning it, or you're like, no, that's bullcrap. They're not spreading propaganda. They're just telling the news with the leftist progressive bent. Then you're not paying attention. And I say that all the time. Many people say that all the time, other than myself. And I always say that CNN is by far the worst. And I say, you'll probably say, well, what about MSNBC? No, they're not the worst. They're bad, but at least you know where they're coming from. They're not saying we're not biased. We're in the middle. We're on both sides. No, they're not on both sides. CNN though, they're definitely on the left. Definitely. Now they say they're not, but if you look at all the reporting and what they push constantly, case in point, last 4 years, what did they push? Russia. P-tapes. Unverified claims. We have a source in the Trump administration, blah blah blah, which is not true. They were selling a bill of goods that they couldn't back up. But of course, if you're a leftist douchebag, of course you're going to back it up. Of course you're going to, buy into it. That's what propaganda is. And you're going to say, well, Fox News is propaganda. No, because if it was pure propaganda, then I would sit here be pushing Fox News stuff, and I don't. I like to think I'm critical of all sides. Recently, in the last maybe year, I've been more critical of people on the left because those people are completely insane. They want to, and I've said this before, they want to put me and my family and people who think like me into re-education camps. And they've said this numerous times before. Just like when Biden, or the potato, he'll say, I don't want to pack the court. And he's packing the court. The Supreme Court, that is. He said, I don't want to do it. We want to set up a commission. Well, they set up a commission. Now they're putting in a legislation now to add 4 more Supreme Court justices. Why? You know why? That was what they wanted to do all along. What did CNN say? Did they question Biden about that? Or, excuse me, the potato? Did they question Camel Toe Harris? No, they didn't. Why? Because this is what they want. They push propaganda. And then now we have evidence, pure 100% evidence straight from the horse's mouth, the donkey's mouth, if you will. Charlie Chester. Now you could say, well, he was on a Tinder date. He was just trying to get laid. He was trying to sell anything. No. What he was saying there, he was calm, cool, collective. He was just like having a beer, just talking it out like you're talking to a date or something like that. And she's asking questions. He goes, yeah, here's what they are doing. They're selling propaganda. They're pushing a narrative. They're putting the COVID death numbers up, but they took them down, but they put them back up to sell fear. And that's fear sells more than good-natured stories. Or, let's say a flood in Moldova. It sells way better fear, saying that there's an asteroid coming, global warming, COVID, etc., etc., etc. They'll push that narrative, and they won't talk about other things that are going on in the world, like what Iran's doing, what's going on in Europe. They won't talk about that. CNN for the last 4 years has been pushing fear, division, all-encompassing propaganda, and then all wrapped up in we're just telling the news, the most trusted news, in the United States. They're not trusted. They may be trusted by the far left douchebags, the far left sycophants, the far left, potato lovers out there who just suck up to the Democrat Party and just suck in and just absorb whatever they push out. Now you're going to say, well, Fox News does the same thing. Yes and no. But you see, what's different about Fox News is that they're not in control like CNN, MSNBC, CBS, NBC, ABC. They're the big ones. They're the ones that who push propaganda and fear to the left, so they can look at us who are on the right or middle of the political spectrum and look at us, with disdain. You're like, you listen to Fox News. And we're like, no, I listen to different sources. I don't get all my news from CNN and those leftist organizations. I do look at what they want to say, but for the most part, I don't, because I know what they're going to say. And I know what you're going to say as well. You're like, well, you should always look at it. While true, but they're always 100% on the left. They push a narrative. They'll say, Trump, blah, 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 states without evidence, blah, blah, blah. But they don't do that to the potato. They don't do it to Kamala Harris. They don't do it to Nancy fucking Pelosi. They don't do that. They don't say, without evidence, Nancy Pelosi claims, blah, blah, blah. No, they take whatever Nancy Pelosi says as the gospel truth. At least Fox News will push back on that narrative. Even with Fox News, you had people like Shepard Smith, who's not there anymore, who actually challenged Fox News and challenged, Donald Trump. Even though he's a complete, utter fucking mess, douchebag a-hole, at least he did that. Chris Wallace, same thing. He did the same thing. He challenged everything, but even though he's a complete douchebag, he still did it. Tucker Carlson, same thing. But you don't have that at CNN. You don't have that at MSNBC. You don't have that at ABC, NBC, CBS. You don't have it there. They push propaganda for the left. They're a water carrier for the Democrats. So if you're out there saying, well, CNN's not exposed, that's just some low-level guy. He's not a low-level guy. He's up there. He's up there. He's up there in the mix. He knows what's going on. Just because he doesn't have a fancy CNN, news anchor director or whatever, doesn't mean he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what propaganda they're pushing. Of course he knows. Of course he wanted Donald Trump out of the White House. And he even stated in this, expose. He got caught. He got caught telling the truth. That's the problem here. We should be holding our news organizations to a higher standard. Not this bullshit that they're pushing. And they're always pushing it. So if you look at the news here, it says in one clip, Chester boasts that CNN is responsible for getting the former president out of office. It says, look what we did. We, CNN, got Trump out. I'm 100% going to say it. And I 100% believe that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't know that Trump would have gotten voted out. I came to CNN because I wanted to be part of that. Everyone knows that if you are, or if you want to be part of the progressive left, you go to CNN. You push that narrative. You push that propaganda. You carry the water for a leftist organization, such as the Democrats. You push it, and you push it, and you push it, and they did. Remember when the Hunter Biden stuff came out? They sunk it. And so what did big tech do? They sunk it. So no one who's smart out there, meaning that the normal people, I wouldn't call the normal people out there who just basically watch the news and don't really investigate it. They're not smart. They're naive. They just buy into whatever big tech frickin' sells them. Whatever bullshit sandwich they pack for them and present to them, they eat it. They don't go, why does this taste like shit? Oh, don't worry about it. They're like, okay. I don't say they're stupid. They're naive. They're ill-informed, and they don't want to investigate more, because why would they lie to me? Why would CNN push propaganda? Why would CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, why would they push bullshit on me? They know what's best for me. I just take whatever they say for, because it's the truth. Every once in a while, someone who breaks away from that, liberal plantation, that progressive gulag, once they break away, and they're like, what the hell's going on here? Why did I know about this? Because you didn't look. Because you just sat there and just accepted their crap for so many years, and to find I can't believe I voted for the potato. He said he wasn't going to do it, now he's doing it. That's because you out there possibly just weren't looking, didn't care, weren't going through the data that's presented out there. You can't Google everything anymore because Google is owned by Alphabet. Google is Google and YouTube are under the same umbrella. They push the same bullshit. Mama Susan, what do you think she does? You can't challenge any narrative. They yeet you. And if CNN gets wind of you and you get a little too much power, a little too much ants in your pants, giving the red pilling the masses, what happens? You know what happens. They go after you. They go after your family. They go after your business. They go after, wherever you live. They try to demean you and besmirch you by every stretch of the imagination. That's what they do. They will go after you if you challenge the narrative. And also, they put fear into the people who are obviously, inept in exposing or going past their liberal progressive narratives, which are presented to them on a silver platter. And that's what's interesting about this whole CNN being exposed. And then, if you're surprised, you shouldn't be surprised. Everyone knows this, right, of Pol Pot, Lenin, and Stalin. Everyone knows that, and like I said, even Fox News pushes some sort of propaganda. But CNN is really good at it. They're extremely good at it. And they've been doing this for decades. But now we have evidence, pure 100% evidence straight from the horse's mouth, that CNN pushes a narrative for the Democrats and the progressives and the socialists out there. They push fear because fear sells. If fear sells, well, then who's buying it? I'm not buying it. Are you buying it?